In a world that moves faster every day, where your phone never stops buzzing, your schedule is packed, and your mind feels like it's running 100 tabs at once, it's easy to feel like you're drowning in noise. But what if the peace you've been chasing doesn't lie in doing more, having more, or becoming more, but in choosing less? Today, I want to invite you into a different rhythm, one rooted in Japanese minimalism. Not just about cleaning up your house or owning fewer things, but about clearing space inside your mind, your habits, and your life. Because minimalism in Japan is more than aesthetics. It's a way of returning to what really matters. It's about stripping away the excess, the noise, the expectations, so you can finally hear yourself again. If you've ever felt like modern life is pulling you in too many directions, if you're tired of the pressure to keep up, to always be on, to constantly accumulate, then maybe, just maybe it's time to let go. This journey isn't about perfection, it's about peace. Let's begin. 1. Clear the mental clutter. Before we ever start decluttering our closets or cleaning up our homes, we need to start somewhere far more important, inside our minds. Mental clutter is like invisible noise always humming in the background. A never-ending stream of emails, updates, notifications, and to-do lists. It feels normal. But over time, it wears us down quietly, constantly. Japanese minimalism teaches us that simplicity isn't just external, it's internal. And that one of the most powerful changes we can make is to stop consuming more than our minds can carry. So, ask yourself this. When was the last time you sat in silence, no screen, no music, no scrolling, and just listened to your own thoughts? Chances are, it's been a while. To begin clearing the mental clutter, try this. Set aside a few no-screen moments each day. Even 10 minutes can shift your energy. Limit your social media to intentional, specific times, not just endless scrolling. And if your mind feels foggy, try journaling. Not to be productive, just to release what's inside. Meditation helps too. Not in some mystical way, but as a practice of noticing your thoughts and then gently letting them go. When you stop bombarding your mind, something beautiful happens. You begin to hear your own voice again, your own intuition. And maybe, for the first time in a long time, you begin to remember what you actually want, not just what the world keeps shouting at you. Mental clarity isn't a luxury. It's the foundation for peace, creativity, and wise decisions. So, start small. Just one quiet pause today, and see what opens up inside you. 2. Declutter your physical space. Let's be honest, we all have that one drawer or maybe an entire room filled with things we haven't touched in years. Stuff we keep just in case, or because we feel guilty letting it go. But here's a truth I've learned. Clutter isn't just physical, it's emotional. And every object in your space either gives you energy or takes it away. In Japanese minimalism, there's a quiet wisdom. Your environment is a mirror of your mind. When your space feels chaotic, your thoughts often do too. But when your surroundings are calm, open, and intentional, your mind breathes easier. So, where do we start? Begin with a single corner, a shelf, a drawer. Pick up each item and ask, does this truly serve a purpose? Does it bring me joy or meaning? If not, maybe it's time to let it go gently, with gratitude. And here's something beautiful from Japanese culture. The art of kintsugi, mending broken pottery with gold. Instead of hiding cracks, it highlights them, turning imperfections into beauty. Apply that to your home. You don't need perfection, you need meaning. A single worn book that moved your soul is worth more than a dozen you've never read. A chipped mug from a late-night talk with someone you love might mean more than the newest designer set. When we choose to let go of the unnecessary, we create room not just in our homes, but in our hearts. Room to breathe, room to think, room to feel peace again. And the best part? You don't need to wait for a big life change. You can begin with one drawer, today. 3. Say no to what doesn't align. Sometimes the most powerful change you can make in your life is learning how to say a simple, quiet word. No, not out of selfishness, but out of respect for your time, your energy, and your values. In today's world, we're constantly told to do more, be more, join more, say yes to everything. We fill our calendars until there's no space to breathe, and eventually, we lose sight of what actually matters to us. But Japanese minimalism invites us to take a different path, one that's rooted in intention, not obligation. It asks, are your commitments aligned with your values? Are you spending your time on things that give you life, or just drain it? There's a beautiful concept in Japanese culture called ikigai, your reason for being. It lives at the intersection of what you love, what you're good at, what the world needs, and what you can be paid for. When you're clear on your ikigai, it becomes much easier to filter out the noise and choose only the commitments that move you closer to your purpose. So, here's a practice. This week, take 10 minutes and look at your schedule. Highlight the meetings, events, or obligations that don't light you up. Ask yourself, am I doing this out of guilt or from genuine alignment? And then give yourself permission to release the ones that no longer fit. Saying no isn't closing a door. It's opening one to a more spacious, fulfilling life. It's choosing depth over busyness, presence over performance. Because when you stop saying yes to everything, you start saying yes to yourself. 4. Simplify your digital habits. Let me ask you something. When was the last time you looked at your phone and didn't feel overwhelmed? In a world where notifications pop up like popcorn, where our fingers scroll before our minds even wake up, it's easy to feel like we're constantly plugged in and quietly burned out. We check our phones first thing in the morning, refresh our emails on autopilot, bounce between apps like we're chasing something but never quite finding it. Japanese minimalism reminds us presence is power, and to be fully present, sometimes we have to step back from the noise. There's a beautiful Japanese concept called mono no aware. It means an awareness of the fleeting beauty of life. It's about really noticing the small, quiet moments that pass us by. But how can we notice anything if our attention is always elsewhere? Here's a gentle practice. Try turning off non-essential notifications. Set specific windows during the day when your phone stays out of reach during meals, while walking, or even just for 20 quiet minutes. And once a week, create a mini digital detox. A few hours, no screen, just you and the real world. Instead of endlessly consuming, you start observing. Instead of reacting, you start breathing. You may find yourself truly listening to someone you love, or noticing the sound of the wind outside your window, or hearing a thought that's been waiting patiently inside you. Technology isn't the enemy, but without boundaries, it becomes the background hum that drowns out your own life. So, reclaim your attention, not all at once, just one quiet, intentional moment at a time. Because the more you unplug from the digital chaos, the more you reconnect with you. 5. Escape the trap of overconsumption. Take a look around your space. How many things do you see that you don't actually use, but keep anyway? A shirt that never fits quite right, a gadget still in its box, decor bought on impulse that never really felt like you. It's not your fault. We live in a world that constantly whispers or shouts, you need more clothes, more upgrades, more stuff to prove your worth, to show you've made it. But Japanese minimalism offers us a quieter truth. It's not about having more, it's about needing less. And not just less in quantity, but more in meaning. There's a beautiful mindset in Japanese culture called wabi-sabi. It teaches us to find beauty in simplicity, in imperfection, and in the quiet elegance of things that age and fade with grace. It reminds us that joy isn't always wrapped in something shiny or new. So, the next time you're about to buy something, pause. Ask yourself, does this truly add value to my life? Will it bring me joy not just now, but over time? Start small. Go through one category: clothes, books, kitchen tools. Keep what supports your life and brings you genuine comfort. Let go of what's just adding weight physically and emotionally. This isn't about depriving yourself. It's about becoming deeply intentional. It's about creating space for the things that actually matter. Moments, not merchandise. Presence, not possessions. Because here's the truth. When you stop chasing more, you start discovering enough. And enough feels like freedom. 6. Curate meaningful relationships. Some of the heaviest clutter we carry doesn't sit on our shelves, it lives in our relationships. Think about it. How many people in your life truly uplift you? Who listens without judgment, shows up with kindness, and helps you feel more like yourself? And on the other hand, who leaves you feeling drained, uncertain, or small? In Japanese minimalism, there's a quiet but powerful value known as wa. It means harmony, not just in the home or the mind, but in our connections with others. To live simply is to live in harmony. And sometimes that means gently stepping away from relationships that no longer serve your well-being. It's not about cutting people off in anger. It's about choosing peace over obligation, depth over performance, truth over polite pretense. Try this. Reflect on the relationships in your life: family, friends, colleagues. Which ones feel like home? Which ones feel like a performance? It's okay to set boundaries. It's okay to step back. You don't need to explain your growth to everyone, especially those committed to misunderstanding it. And let's talk about social expectations. The birthday parties you attend out of guilt, the conversations you force to avoid awkwardness. Ask yourself, am I connecting or just complying? Minimalism invites us to let go, not only of objects, but of the social scripts that wear us down. To surround ourselves with people who reflect our values, who see us clearly and love us anyway. Because here's the truth. You deserve relationships that nourish your soul, not just fill your calendar. You deserve to feel safe, supported, and seen. When you simplify your circle, you don't end up with less love. You create space for real connection to bloom. 7th, let go of perfection in work. Have you ever found yourself staring at a task, knowing it's important, but feeling paralyzed because you want it to be perfect? Yeah, me too. We live in a culture that celebrates perfection, flawless results, polished outcomes, no room for mistakes. But what we don't talk about enough is the cost of that mindset. Burnout, constant pressure, a fear of starting because it might not be good enough. But in Japanese philosophy, there's a beautiful shift in thinking. It's called kaizen, the practice of continuous small improvements. Instead of chasing perfection, kaizen invites us to take one gentle step at a time, to value progress over polish, and to honor the journey, not just the finish line. Think about that for a moment. What if you gave yourself permission to do it messy, to start the project without having it all figured out, to grow your skills slowly but steadily with intention? Here's a practice you can try today. Look at something you've been procrastinating on, maybe because it feels too big, too unclear, or too scary to get wrong. Now, break it down into the smallest, most doable next step. Just one step. Then take it without needing it to be perfect. And tomorrow, take another. You'll be amazed at how this simple shift reduces pressure and brings clarity back into your work. Perfection is rigid. Progress is flexible. And the more you focus on movement, not mastery, the more momentum you build with far less stress. So, give yourself some grace. You're not behind, you're just beginning. And that's more than enough. 8. Spend with intention. Let's talk about money, not from a place of stress or scarcity, not about getting rich fast, but from a place of awareness and intention. Because if we're honest, many of us spend without thinking. We buy when we're stressed, we buy when we're bored, we buy to keep up, to fit in, to feel better, even just for a moment. But Japanese minimalism offers a quieter, more mindful approach. Spend only on what aligns with your values. It's not about being frugal for the sake of it, it's about asking a deeper question. Does this purchase support the life I want to live? Every dollar you spend is a vote for the kind of life you're building. So instead of chasing trends or filling emotional gaps with stuff, shift your focus. Create a simple, clear budget that reflects what actually matters to you, not what the world says should matter. That might mean cutting back on impulse buys and investing more in experiences. It might mean saying no to status symbols and yes to financial freedom. Here's something that helps. Before every purchase, pause and ask yourself, is this driven by a real need or a fleeting emotion? If it's emotional, wait, breathe. Give yourself time to respond, not react. Because the goal isn't to restrict your joy. It's to make space for real joy, the kind that isn't tied to a receipt. And slowly, as you spend more consciously, you'll start to notice you feel lighter, more in control, more aligned with the life you truly want. That's the heart of financial minimalism. Not just saving money, but saving your energy, your clarity, your future. Because when you stop spending to escape, you start building a life you no longer need to escape from. Ninth, reclaim your time. Time, the one thing we can't earn back no matter how hard we work. And yet, so many of us spend our days racing the clock, squeezing in just one more task, one more meeting, one more obligation. We say yes to everything, and somewhere in the rush, we forget to be present for anything. But Japanese minimalism offers a wiser rhythm, one rooted in the philosophy of Ichigo Ichi. It means one time, one meeting, a reminder that every moment is unrepeatable. This cup of tea, this walk outside, this quiet conversation, none of it will come again in exactly the same way. So, how do we honor that? We start by clearing our schedules of what doesn't matter, so we can finally show up for what does. Look at your calendar with honest eyes. What's truly necessary? What feels aligned with your values, your energy, your season of life? And what are you doing simply out of habit, guilt, or fear of missing out? It's okay to let go of the shoulds. It's okay to say no, not because you're too busy, but because you're choosing peace. And once you've made space, here's a practice to help you stay intentional. Use the time blocking method. Set specific focused windows in your day. One block for deep work, one for rest. One for presence time with someone you love, or just with yourself. This structure doesn't restrict you, it frees you. It gives your attention a place to land, so you're not constantly switching, juggling, burning out. Because when you begin to protect your time, you begin to protect your life. And when you treat each moment as precious, you'll find that even the most ordinary days feel rich with meaning. So, slow down. Be here. This moment will never come again, and that's exactly what makes it sacred. 10. Find peace in daily rituals. Most of us move through our days on autopilot. We wake up and reach for our phones. We rush through coffee. We juggle tasks, check emails mid-meal, and multitask until bedtime. And then we wonder why we feel so exhausted, so disconnected, so full, yet empty. Japanese minimalism reminds us that life doesn't change in the grand gestures. It shifts quietly in the small moments we learn to honor. Instead of rushing from one thing to the next, what if we turned our daily routines into rituals? That morning cup of tea, could it become a sacred pause? A moment to feel the warmth in your hands, to breathe before the noise begins? That evening walk, could it be less about steps and more about stillness? Slowness isn't laziness, it's presence. And presence is how we reclaim our peace. Start by simplifying your habits. Strip them down to what truly supports you. Replace multitasking with monotasking, the gentle art of doing one thing at a time with full attention. Eat without screens. Listen without planning your reply. Work in focused blocks, not chaotic bursts. And just as you tidy your home, practice tidying your mind. Journaling, silence. 5 minutes of mindful breathing. It doesn't need to be perfect, it just needs to be yours. This is the beauty of the Japanese concept of shibui, simplicity with subtle elegance. It teaches us that a calm life isn't built by doing more, it's built by doing less with more meaning. So, if your days feel cluttered, start not by doing more, but by doing less with care. Because when you treat even the simplest act as sacred, ordinary life begins to feel extraordinary again. If there's one truth that weaves through every lesson in this journey, it's this: letting go is not loss. Letting go is liberation. We live in a culture that teaches us to hold on to achievements, to possessions, to beliefs, to identities we've outgrown. But Japanese minimalism reminds us that real peace doesn't come from having more. It comes from holding on to less noise, less pressure, less of what no longer serves the person you're becoming. There's deep wisdom in the Japanese philosophies of wabi-sabi and kari. Wabi-sabi reminds us to embrace imperfection, transience, and the quiet beauty of things that are incomplete. Kari, or the KonMari method, asks us to gently part with anything that no longer sparks joy, not just in our closets, but in our hearts and minds. So, what are you ready to release? Maybe it's a drawer full of things you've kept just in case. Maybe it's a belief that your worth is measured by your productivity. Maybe it's the pressure to always have it together. Letting go isn't about forgetting. It's about remembering what truly matters and making space for it to grow. You don't have to do it all at once. Start small. One habit, one drawer, one lingering thought. Each time you release what weighs you down, you make room for something lighter, something more aligned with the life you quietly dream of. And that's the beauty of this path. Minimalism isn't about emptiness, it's about intention. It's about choosing presence over pressure, peace over perfection, clarity over chaos. So, here's your invitation. Let this be the year you live more simply and more fully. Let go. And watch what opens up.